Hi everyone, welcome back to the Wonder of Anime podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and I am a multimedia anime content creator, and my work spans across my blog, my YouTube channel, and of course, this podcast. So this week, I am so excited. I have another returning guest, which seems to be the theme, but I promise I'm gonna have some new people too. But when I thought about bringing the podcast back, I immediately thought about people that have been on the show and that are really fun to talk to, and of course, love the anime that they're going to be discussing. So this week, I have Neysha Campbell, aka NeyshaPlays. She's a cosplayer, entertainment critic, podcaster, and writer. As a contributing writer and rotating podcast host at butwhythough.net, she explores and reviews anime, manga, TV, and film, infusing her work with insightful critiques and opinion pieces. Neysha's passions extend to cosplaying, where she uses her platform to create welcoming community and share her favorite anime, manga, and other interests. In all her work, Neysha strives to be a creator that helps shape inclusive spaces in the world of pop culture. You can catch her on the podcast Freaks and Geeks, where geeky and freaky thoughts collide. And Bish, listen to this, a personal podcast where she and her sister / co-homeowner Voya discuss the victories and challenges of adulthood. But thank you so much for coming on the show, and I'm so excited to have you here. And I always ask, how are you? How are you doing? Especially today. I don't know what the weather is like where you are, but I think we're getting a lot of snow.
Yeah, right now, I'm in Chicago. The sun is out and it's not snowing and I can see the sky is blue again. So I'm happy with the weather today. Overall, I'm doing good. It's been a weird but like victorious week for me. So I'm gonna like just ride that wave as long as it's gonna continue to be that way.
Yes, I see. That's what I love to hear, that optimism, especially when the weather because we got snow too in Pennsylvania, and we got snow like Tuesday, and then it came back again. So it's like a lot, and I feel like people underestimate how the weather can like tie into your mood.
Mm-hmm.
But the sun is out and we are good. So I have invited Neysha today. I was telling her before we started with the show that when I think about someone who loves an anime, somebody who radiates positivity about this anime, whether she has critiques on the anime, they are thoughtful, insightful, kind, like somebody who really takes the anime seriously, I of course think of Neysha, and I think of One Piece, which is what we are going to be talking about today. And I'm so excited because I'll share in a little bit as well my kind of history with One Piece. But
Mm-hmm.
before that, I wanted for my listeners to get to know you a little bit if they missed the previous episode or if they're just new with your work, because I feel like especially the last 2 years, I know you've been writing for But Why Though for a while, but you've been doing a lot of different things. So I kind of wanted to know and have our audience know, what is it? How did you get introduced to this space with like writing about anime and manga, and now kind of doing the cosplay as well as your own separate podcasts?
Yeah, so I guess to take it back, not too far back, but like I have always loved anime. I've always loved it since like the Sailor Moon and Toonami and Dragon Ball Z days. Like I've been a long time anime fan, but like I never saw myself as being someone who would ever like talk about it or have a platform that talks about it. But I admire people who did. So like fast forward to like I want to say 6 or 5 years ago, I was starting to listen to podcasts. Like I first got introduced to what a podcast was, and I was just like, oh well, let me go ahead and check this out. And like I started to like them. One of the podcasts I got into was Nerd Sync, and I really hosted by Scott Nicewander, and I kind of worked with them for a little bit and did some of like their marketing things. And then I kind of that expanded into me like, you know what, I could do this. I can have my own podcast. So I dipped my toe into having a podcast that led to me asking, but why though? Like I asked Kate when I saw her tweet randomly. We weren't even following each other, but we followed the same people. Happened to see her tweet, and I said, would you guys, because she's like, we're looking for new creators or new writers or contributors to the website to talk about X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, would you accept a podcast? And then, from there, me and Kate connected, became friends, and we started Did You Have To? And that's kind of what solidified me starting to do a podcasting, talking specifically about anime and manga. But then Kate asked me one time, hey, do you want to come down to South by Southwest and write for us? And I'm just like, sure. I never saw myself as a writer. Honestly, I kind of tried to put it off as far as I could because I was like, no, I can talk better than I can write. Like I sitting at a computer and trying to get my thoughts on a screen is so much harder than me getting my thoughts out of my head. So I kind of like never really thought I was a writer. Granted, I did write a lot of fan fiction back in the day. Shout out to fanfiction.net. Um, but I did that. And I've been writing with them since, and I've really found my footing in writing features specifically about anime and manga and some of the TV and film that I really like. But a little thing called One Piece a few years ago, I finally gave it like another try because like I've watched One Piece on 4Kids when I was younger. I watched One Piece, like I read it. Like I actually tried to like read the whole manga because I was like, oh cool, I've read Fairy Tail like 3 times. Of course I can read One Piece. And I was just like, nope, can't do it. It's too many to read. So then it was at the start of the pandemic, I decided like I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it this time and I'm gonna catch up on One Piece. And that's when I really did it. And I caught up in 1 year. And I've been riding with Luffy and his crew ever since. I've been going really hard since then. So I mean like that's kind of what led to me writing and being so passionate about One Piece specifically. But like writing with But Why Though has really offered me the opportunity to explore my skills as a writer and what drives me to write. And what I've learned is that like people do really appreciate my critiques and my commentary, and I'm really appreciative of that. So now with my other platform, my specific platform for NeyshaPlays, I decided to finally do more with cosplaying because I've always admired cosplayers. I always loved cosplayers, but I never thought that I could be a cosplayer until one day I got a perm rod set and my hair looked like Steven from Steven Universe. And I was like, let me just do something real quick. And the response I got and the encouragement I got from like so many people who like were mutuals with me really inspired me to be like, I don't have to do this, make this a one time thing. This doesn't have to be something I have to go to a con because I used to think like I have to go to a con to cosplay. So like it's kind of evolved slowly over time. And then I guess 4 years ago, or yeah, 4 years ago, I started Neysha Plays, my platform for my cosplays and everything on Instagram, and just changed all my socials to that. And now people know me as a cosplayer. And I have to say, it's been a wild ride. And I just never thought I would be a content creator in the sense that I am today, where it's like I get writing opportunities. But why though? I've been able to write for PBS about anime and cosplaying. I've been able to start podcasts like Freaks and Geeks is one that's like very recently, very new, but it's like it's awesome to be able to just like really I'm really blessed and glad I've been able to find my footing in this space, and I've been able to like create this, well not create, more like foster a community with people like you and other mutuals and other folks who follow me and I follow them, and it's just like, yeah, no, I'm glad I'm here.
And I'm so glad that you're here too, because I mean, I've known of you. I remember when you and Kate, I think that's kind of what brought me to you guys,
Mm-hmm.
because I had been on like a Twitter list that was like women writers of color, and that's how I saw
Yeah.
Kate. And then I remember when you guys launched the podcast, because an artist that I was looking at did your the image of you and Kate as Bakugo. I think Bakugo and Deku.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just so cute. And then seeing like you launching off and doing like the cosplays and stuff, which I love. I definitely was one of those first people that was like, yes,
You
more
were.
please, because I am someone too that I feel like, this might be controversial, but I feel like there, and people try to deny it and say, no, it isn't. There's definitely a look to cosplays. There's certainly, quote unquote, acceptable people that can cosplay. And there's certain people that people only take their cosplay seriously,
Yeah.
and because they have a certain look. And people try to say it's not true, but we know that it's true,
It's
because
true.
we see who's getting opportunities based on that. So when
Yeah.
you were getting in the space, I loved it because I love your take on, I like cosplays personally that like you can see the person in their personality, and like, it doesn't just look straight off the paper of the manga or like the anime, because
Yeah.
I like anybody could do that. Like, let's get that individuality in there.
Mm-hmm.
But also specifically like your reviews, like I read reviews for stuff that you and Kate write that I'm never in my life gonna watch that. But I'm like, I love the way you guys write, and especially I read a lot of your One Piece articles because I am like, I'm not that far in One Piece, but I just like love the way that you talk about it. And And I don't usually read reviews before I watch something because I don't like. Sometimes I feel like people could get in your head and change your mind about like something, or you're approaching it like, oh, well, they said this, so I'm gonna do this. But I did read your like live action reviews before I saw the live action One Piece, and I just loved it. So I'm so glad that you're in the space, and I'd be cheering you on like when you did the PBS thing. I was like, yes, that's right, because I just thought that was so awesome. Like we all grew up with PBS, like Arthur, Zoom,
Yeah. Look,
Barney.
if you told little me that like, hey, PBS is gonna hit you up and want you to write a script for, this series that they have on their channel, on their YouTube channel about and like what is an otaku and what is anime, or why has anime just like gotten so big. I never would have thought that would have been me if you told like 9-year-old me watching Sailor Moon, like, hey, you're gonna write a script about anime one day. Man, I had a moment. Well, first of all, imposter syndrome is very real, and I still have it. But it's like one of those things where, like, sometimes you just gotta tell that voice in the back of your head to shut up and just do it. Like, just create stuff. Like, just actually just. Sometimes if there's something you want to create and you want to make it your own, do it. Do it. There is no wrong. Okay, let me change that. There are wrong ways to do things. But if you're going to do it with intention and respect, I truly believe there's no wrong way to do it.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to know because I had seen, I think I had already reached out and then I saw this afterwards,
Hmm.
that you've launched a new podcast with some other people, Freaks and Geeks.
Hmm.
And if you can tell us a little bit about that, because just
Yeah.
the title alone is so interesting.
Yeah, no. So it's hosted by myself, Ash, Lex, and Bev. I cannot remember all their platforms right now off the top of my head because I'm going to mess up Lex's, I know. But, anyways, yeah. So we all went to Anime Weekend Atlanta together. And, like, last night there, we were out at a pizza place, and Ash had the idea of, like, you know what? Because we were all talking about plans and things that we want to do. Like, this is also off the run of, like, Ash and I had done a um a panel at DreamCon about cosplaying and all this stuff, and it was like the reception was so like awesome. So like we were all just talking and like, what we should do? We should plan out what panel, if the four of us want to do any panels together. So then it started like talking and more, and we're like, but what if we started a podcast? And the idea of Freaks and Geeks were born because the whole idea of like it started off with like the joke of like how people be like, people don't know that geeks are freaks. Like people just assume that like,
Hmm.
oh, that geeky girl, that geeky guy, they ain't got no riz, they ain't got nothing, like all that stuff. But like low key, nerds is where it's at. Like the nerds is where it's at when it comes to dating these days. And the sooner folks catch on, the better. But it was more so because we didn't want to just limit ourselves to anime. We wanted to also talk about like like things like dating, relationships, sex positivity, all those things. So like it's kind of like an open platform for that, but then also like talk about like, okay, well, what are we watching? What anime do we love? And yeah, Freaks and Geeks was born. So it's like we are the podcast that the freaky and the geeky collide, or what was it? Ask the questions that other people are too afraid or bashful to ask, like how many domains did Gojo expand when he was in his whole phase? Like think just like random stuff that could pop in our heads. So yeah, that's how Freaks and Geeks came to be.
I love that because I think, and I've talked about this before, how the first time you were on the podcast with Kate, like that totally blew my mind in terms of like adult anime content, because it was something that I was like consuming behind closed doors because I was very
Yeah,
shy
we
and
talked
like
about hentai and all that stuff. Yeah.
I was like a little prudish. Now I'm on main. Like, let me tell you who's my favorite top, who's my favorite bottom. Let's
Yes.
rank them. So it's been a journey. But I love what you said about like people have this kind of perception of what it is to be a geek, and you think that these are like the lame people. And
Hmm.
it's so funny because most of my friends that are quote unquote geeks and nerds, they have relationships, they
Yeah.
married, or they have like poppin' lives, and it's just like it's so funny because people will, and I mean you're on Twitter too, so you'll see it where it's like, oh, he plays video games. Break up with them, fellas. What would you do
Yeah.
if your girl had this Gojo's not safe for work figure? And it's like people will beat these conversations, and I'm like, if y'all just got offline and talked to real women, or men or non-binary people, if you just talk to a real person, like you would see that like you're just making it up in your head about how weird. And I think yes, there's always going to be that one socially awkward person online or something, but they are not the face of the community. And another thing that a lot of people underestimate is like how old a lot of fandom is. Like, y'all 15, 16-year-olds are not carrying the fandoms. Like, y'all are crazy. They don't have the money to have this, to have that.
We don't
Like,
have money. Like, we have money and we buy anime stuff and we have fun. Like, that's
we
why
have
more of
it.
us are having kids later in life.
Yeah, so we can keep affording our things. But it's just like, so I love the concept of that because it's like, yes, like we can be nerdy and geeky and we have these
Yeah.
full, rich, fun, sex positive lives. You know, we out here in these streets. Not me personally, but there's other people in
Me
these
neither.
streets
I'm
and we
for the
support them.
streets. I am not, my street days are gone. I'm in the sheets.
Listen,
I'm never leaving. I'm never leaving.
we're not going back out there, but
I've been
but
living a
we
long time. I'm like, I am never leaving.
no, we're not. We're not going outside again. But we support those in their ventures. And I just love that you guys thought of this idea. And it's more than just anime, but that brings you guys together to
Yeah,
do
because
this.
we really wanted to like kind of have a multifaceted like place to talk about all these things and interest and just like the variety of stuff because we didn't want to be like one of those anime podcasts that are just asking the same tired questions like, oh, sub versus dub. Like, no, we're not having those kind of discussions when we talk about anime. We're literally either talking about like how we feel, how destroyed do we feel about JJK. They were talking about, who would be in your who would be in your what is it, senpai and chill rotation. Like, just fun. It's a fun place. It's fun group of people just to talk about things with. Our episode 0 is out now, and then our first episode, official episode, will be out before the end of this month.
Yes, and I will be sure to have all of those links in the description of the episode, in the YouTube description, so you guys can catch everything that Neysha is doing. But that's going to bring us now into the next part of the show, which is the main part of the show. If you guys can't tell, because we've talked about it at length already, and we haven't even gotten here, we are going to be talking about One Piece today. And I always start off this section before I let Neysha tell us all about the wonder of One Piece with kind of like my personal journey with One Piece and where what am I doing? Because I'm not, Neysha today is the One Piece expert. I'm the student in this situation. Everyone who comes on this show, I am claiming that they are the expert of the anime that they're going to be talking about. And for me personally, One Piece was something that I was like, I am never going to watch One Piece. And not in it's too long. It just
Right.
was nothing that, like, for me, what I'm currently interested in seemed to match.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband started watching One Piece, and I was furious because I had been telling this man, yo, watch JJK. Watch, I forgot what other stuff. Watch this, watch that. And he was like, you know what? I'm gonna start One Piece. It's super long. I think when he started watching it, it hadn't been 1,000 episodes yet because he started like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I would see him watch it, whatever. But then what happened was I had a baby, and when we came back from like the hospital, like we would just be like in bed, and I'm like, I can't think of something to watch right now. Like, just put whatever you're watching. So he would put One Piece, and specifically it was the part, I forget what the name of the arc is, where it's like Robin's kidnapped and they gotta save
Oh,
her.
yeah.
That thing, and it was, I don't know, the baby hormones or whatever, but it was just really getting to me because I'm telling you, it's like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. We got the little baby, we don't know what we're doing with the baby,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, Robin's like, I want to live, and I'm like, oh, this is a little bit different than what I was thinking. This is really
Mm-hmm.
emotional. So after that, I was like, you know what? Like, I was on maternity leave, so I was like, let me just start it, and I ended up watching the first season, which I think is like 60 something episodes. And then I haven't gone back, but that's also because I'm always reading and watching other things. But since my husband kept watching it, like, I'm familiar. I've been spoiled to death on everything that has happened. I just need to sit down and have my own journey with it. But I don't know, something about it, and I think just I'm in this new phase of my life where I'm mom, and then I see Luffy, and Luffy is just so adorable. And then we would always call my son like Luffy or Joy Boy, and we just, I don't know, like I just got like this warm attachment to it. And for me, One Piece, it was just like it was different than what I thought it was. And I was like, they put crack in this. Like, I think I have tweets where I'm like, there's crack in One Piece. Because I get it. Like, and I know people are like, it gets good after certain episodes. I was like, episode 2, I was like, well, what's going to happen next? Like, how are they going to get out of this? Like, it just always ends in a way where you're like, nah, just one more. I got to like, and then if you do the calculations, you're like, I skipped the intro. I skipped the little recap. It's only 15 minutes of my time. I could just like,
you're literally describing what I was doing through my like first like true watch of it, where it's like once you get past, like for me, I knew I was solidified as a fan after like love Zoro's story, but like it was Arlong Park that did it for me. That was like, I'm in it. I'm not leaving. I'm gonna see it through. It was there parts that got me like tired. I was like, man, there's still so many more to go. But it's like you gotta almost turn that part of your brain off. It's not about finishing 1,000 episodes in a month. It's not about even finishing it in a year. It's about just enjoying the story along for the ride. Yes, it's a lot of episodes. Yes, it's a very long story. But it's like once you get caught up or to a certain point, you honestly just feel like, yo, there's still so much to be told. But like we're here and we're at this part. And like now we're going into the final saga. And it just feels like, yo, I'm not ready for it to end. Even though Oda said maybe it'll be 5 years before they end it. But I'm like, 5 years?
That's so much can happen. That's not enough.
In 5 years. But no, and even still, like the part you're talking about that they got your attention with Ennie's lobby with Robin. That was the part where like One Piece definitely. I won't say it saved my life, but I was definitely in a dark place in my life when I was watching it, and it was one of those things that like this is like one of my it was my comfort show. It really helped me like not feel like everything was so bad. Like I was watching One Piece and I went through a bad breakup. And I was just like watching it, and it was like literally I had my breakup, and then I was watching Ennie's lobby, and I was watching Robin's part, and I was just like bawling, and I'm like, okay, life isn't so bad. And I too want to live.
I mentioned this in my previous episode, and I say this a lot because it's just the type of person that I am. I really think like shows and like media, like it really gets you when you're supposed to get it. And there's a reason why when you try to watch something before and it's not like clicking for you, but you give it a chance like a year later, like it can click for you. I'm a firm believer in that because I that kind of happened to me with Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like I discovered it late, and then when I watched it, I was going through like a traumatic work situation, and I was like, "Oh my, this is life changing." But had I watched it, when it originally came out, like it would never have had that same impact. So I believe that fully. But I want to know from the expert, from you. So for people who like, a lot of my fans are all over the place, so they might have heard about One Piece, but they not exactly know what One Piece is. So tell us a little bit about One Piece. How did it get started? Because there's 1,000 of. How did we get here? How did we get to where we are now?
So a quick factoid I'm gonna share because we almost didn't have One Piece. So I believe Oda had applied back in the day to write for Slam Dunk. So I also have that over there, but because I love Slam Dunk, they're my two favorites. But like his trajectory for writing One Piece could have gone so differently if he had ended up writing for Slam Dunk. Because who knows, maybe he would have fell into sports manga. So I think that's always like an interesting thing to know about him. But something I believe it's like 1997, 1996. One Piece comes out. Oda drops this fire thing, but before then, he dropped this like series of one shots. And within it, there is a one shot for One Piece. And I believe at the time it was called Romance Dawn. And that's the one that got picked up. The other one shot in there is Monsters. That's the one that is coming out on Netflix next. Again, I just have like all these factoids in my head, so I'm just going to share them.
I love it.
But like that one is related to One Piece too. I'm not going to spoil it too much for people. Just know it has something to do with Zoro. That's as much as I'm going to say. But yeah, so One Piece comes out over almost 25 years ago, and now here we are with this and you just like when it comes out, a story about this boy who eats a fruit that makes him rubber. What's that about? Like who? And then you find out like you're gonna be a pirate but you can't swim. and you want to be king of the pirates? How are you going to become king of the pirates? And you're only one person, and you got to go find a crew of people, and you think you're just going to need 10 people to become your crew, and you're actually going to be king of the pirates? Insane. But lo and behold, thousand and something episodes, we're almost at 1,100 chapters, I believe. We might, yeah, I think we're almost at 1,100 chapters in the series, and we're definitely over 1,000 episodes now at this point. But here we are where Luffy has basically all of his crew, or at least most of his crew, and he's on the verge of becoming the Pirate King. But like, to get from like point A of just being in his little dingy boat looking for his crewmates and like, meeting Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, like I can list them all in order, but I'm not gonna do that. But like it's just like it's this rich tapestry that's been woven for years, and it seems ridiculous that it needs to be told with 1,000 episodes, but it makes so much sense because like when people want to talk about filler, One Piece has like this much filler compared to like Naruto or Bleach. And I think that's one of the best things about it is because like Oda really takes his time with his characters and wants you to feel like you're on this journey with them. And I think that's part of the reason why it takes 1,000 and so episodes to tell this story and to paint this beautiful painting almost like we're like watching a masterpiece being created as One Piece just keeps going and going and going, and like from different challenges they've had. Like I think another thing that like we've talked about is like how people want to talk about One Piece and call it mid, or people want to say like it just has the power of friendship trope, it's not that deep. I'm like, no, but it is that deep. And they do go deeper, and there's other themes. Like when people say like all they do is it's goofy pirate show and they talk about the power of friendship, I'm like, they talking about capitalism, colonization, corrupted government, elitism, slavery, human trafficking. There's like so many deep themes, and like to belittle it, to be calling it mid and it having too many episodes just is a huge discredit to what One Piece is, because it's a story about following your dreams. It's a story about friendship. It's a story about freedom. And like, what does freedom truly look like for you? Or like, what does it truly look like for somebody else? And I think that's the beautiful thing is like, as One Piece has been going on for over 20 years, I think the core message has, it's not that it's changed, it's just that it continues to evolve and you really get it once you like get like, and maybe some people get it, Arlong Park or Skypiea or Alabaster or whatever arc it is that you really, it clicks for you, but like you understand the importance of this story being told.
See, and that's what we need people to do. But there's a reason, like, oh, it's so long, and it hasn't been canceled, and it's still like, it's obviously it's good if it's still going.
At
Like, you
this point,
can't
it's
say,
the flagship of Jump. Like, I mean, people talk about the big three, and yes, it wasn't the big three, but if we're looking at statistics, One Piece ain't faltered yet. Like, and if people want to talk about, oh, but such and such sold more volumes, I'm like, and what has the longest all time record of selling volumes? What's been running on Shonen Jump for 20 something years? There are only a handful of anime series or manga titles that have been running as long as One Piece. And when I say a handful, I only know of like, I think there was a show called The Yamadas, and that's like an old Japanese cartoon. It's still ongoing. It has been going, and it has over like 2,000 episodes. That's the only one that, and like One Piece isn't even the longest running anime. It's
mm-hmm.
just a very long running anime. So I'm like, y'all act like this is impossible, but it's not.
No. I think too. Me and Key in my last episode with Fire Force, we kind of
Mhm.
got into that where people just like talk and there's a lot of like misconceptions and stuff, and then they let that form their opinion of something without even
Yeah.
giving them a chance. And I think that's huge in like online culture, because it's like you're
Mm.
waiting to see what somebody else says, and it's like if you would just stop and give it a chance, like you could see things differently. But that kind of leads me into, and you kind of touched upon this, but I want to dive a little bit deeper in, you mentioned that you had seen like One Piece on 4Kids a long time ago, but then you really got
Mhm.
into it during the pandemic. So when did you like in the pandemic, what kind of led you to deciding like, all right, let me start my One Piece journey seriously? Because you mentioned you had tried a couple times before.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly had decided to try it again during the pandemic because I had more time. I wasn't commuting to work anymore. I was working from home pretty much. And it was just like something nice to have on in the background that I could, still work and be focused, but then like also still be entertained because at the time I just like ran out of episodes for my podcast that I used to listen to, or I was just at the point where like I feel like I had a content burnout where I just was disinterested in a lot of things. So I was just like, I need something new, or I need something that I can like really engage with and get into. And like, I was just seeing stuff for like One Piece, like the more current episodes on like online. I was like, what's all this about? I'm like, okay, let's try it. Because like when I stopped in the manga, I was at chapter 250. So I had a grasp of what One Piece was, but I just said like I can't do it because like no offense to the manga, I love the manga, but like reading it at the beginning is kind of hard for me because like there's just so much going on, and I'm just like yo, I can't remember all these people and faces and things. So that's why I was just like, well, let's give the anime a try.
I it's so funny because I the beginning it's just be loaded with so many people, and then like later on they become like 200 chapters later. You're like, what? There's too much to follow.
There'd be a lot to follow, and it's crazy how like now, if somebody like mentions a character, I'll be like, hold on, let me think of real quick. Oh yeah, because like you literally said like when Robin got killed, like in his lobby, and I
Hmm.
mean like keeping in mind that like in total currently there's like 11 sagas, but within those sagas there are I believe even counting one egghead, there are 32 arcs. There
That's
are
a
32
lot.
arcs in One Piece, and that's a lot. But then when you watch it all and you're caught up, you're just like yo, this all happens in the span of like 2 years. Like, legit. This is all just happening in the span of 2 years in the anime, but it's been over 20 years in real life.
It's so great. That's the part that's always wild to me. So you're watching One Piece. You're in it. We mentioned this a little bit before. You know, you were going through some like personal things, so it was really like
Mhm.
identifying with you. When was the moment that you were like, this peak for me? Like this is replacing my faves. Obviously, Slam Dunk is a fave for you, but when did you like it was getting up there with Slam Dunk? When did that change for you?
Honestly, I think I would say like Slam Dunk's like one of my favorite classics. So like even though
Hmm.
it's my favorite, it wasn't like something I was consuming regularly because there ain't been no new episodes. They've had their new movie recently, but that's about it. But I would say for me, it replaced things like not replaced, but like it outranked things like My Hero and Fairy Tale. Like when I got to Arlong Park, when I got to Nami's backstory and her story, and then like just seeing the first five core members of the crew come together to help Nami, and then Luffy's fight with Arlong. It was just something about Nami asking Luffy for help.
Woo! I get
Yeah,
tears.
because my eyes, like no, because
I
it
cried
was
so much.
I cried so hard, and it's just like when you really think about it, and like again, when people just make these baseless statements about these characters, and they don't think about like, oh, Nami's just there for sex appeal, or Nami's a useless character, she can't fight, and I'm like, do y'all understand how much Nami went through? And you're completely wrong because she can fight. It's just that she's not one of the strongest, nor does she need to be the strongest. She don't, and I feel like when as far as female characters go in shonen, that's a discussion for another day. We already know shonen don't do right by a lot of its female characters because you'll give us a badass female character, but she's rarely, if ever, the main, and she's rarely, if ever, going to be the one to take down the villain. Like that's just how shonen goes. But and I'm not trying to speak in like all overall all things. I'm just saying specifically from the things I've consumed. But to the point, it's just you can tell when people have never watched the show or have never really bothered to like really take in what the message is because like Nami's arc for me really resonated with me because her having to ask for help thinking that she's been strong for so long, she's been working so hard to free her people, she's just wants to like protect her home village, and she's had to like carry this burden for so long and hasn't been able to trust anybody because she didn't want them to get hurt, but also because she has trust issues. But then it's like, yo, here comes Luffy. this person who's just like, you're my friend, you're my navigator, you're a part of my crew now. And Luffy as a character, people really don't give him enough credit. I think the people who get it do, but people don't give him enough credit as far as like, yes, he's very simple in the sense of like, once he trusts you, you are his friend. But like, Luffy understands what it means to be there for your friend. So like that moment when she's like, Luffy, help, I just like, dog, I could not take it because like Luffy knew what he knew and understood the assignment and what he had to do. He's like, you made my navigator cry. I'm gonna give her my hat because I trust her. Him giving her his hat, huge trust, which means he trusted her to protect that hat and watch him while he went and handled business.
Just so I was sobbing because it was just so much. Like there's so many implications. Like the fact that the village like also knew that she wasn't like dead, and she's like, "You guys knew, like, girl, you wasn't doing a good job hiding it." But it was
Right,
just
he knew like it wasn't that hard to tell, and it was also just like,
it was
oh,
so much. But yeah, that that part like I think those intros to all the characters
mm-hmm.
just really like man, I was like, oh my god, I'm so wrong about this show. And I'm such a crybaby, so I was crying all the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I thought this was fun and goofiness. Like, why am I here sobbing at this backstory? Like every backstory made me cry.
Everybody backstory has that moment, and it's like, you know what? It's just I could give that same explanation for all these backstories or like all these characters, like feelings and motivations and all of this stuff. And I'm like, I think that's like a credit to Oda's writing skills and like making us fall in love with these characters or like really admiring these characters. Cause like from Zoro and Sanji's backstories, like what people may or may not know about them is just like for what you think you know is like, oh, Sanji's just a lecherous flirt, like playboy. Da, da, da. I'm like, first of all, Sanji ain't no playboy. Like, if anything, he just love women and he a simp. So like, I be really quick to stop people. Like, first of all, he is not Master Roshi. He's not a pervert. He's a simp. There's a difference. Sanji will like lay on the ground and let a woman kill him before he strikes her.
Hmm.
He ain't trying to look up at panties or nothing, and he ain't trying to grope nobody or sexually abuse nobody. So when people want to call him like, oh, he's just like Mineta, I'm like, first of all, how dare you? Because you know nothing about how he is or how he was raised.
Yeah, it's just those like what you see and it's like you don't know like just try it.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about One Piece, running for so long, and
Hmm.
it kind of didn't really click for me until you just said it now that really like all these events are taking place in 2 years, but we've been watching it play out for over 20 years.
Hmm.
And what do you think it is about One Piece that makes it so timeless that 20 years later it's still not even just a topic of discussion, but one of the top animes, like whether you love it, whether you hate it, like Luffy was in the Macy's Day Parade. Like y'all can't act
Yeah.
like the impact isn't there. So what do you think it is about One Piece that it has it, that it's been so relevant all this time?
Yeah, I would say, man, I want to say part of it is just that like it probably spans across generations. Like One Piece is kind of like I'm trying to think of something that like is more relatable to like us. Like like you watch your parents watched it, so like you watched it with your parents, and then like now we watch it with like I mean I know you got a kid, but like I don't have a kid yet, but like so like we'll probably introduce our kids. So like it's kind of like Disney movies in a sense, but like everybody has like a favorite one that they want to watch with like their friends and their family and that you get introduced to, or like just having a favorite movie or a story, whatever it is. I think a lot of it does have to do with like it's spanning across so many generations because granted it came out around like in the mid late 90s. It's been around for so long that like yeah, we if we had access to it, we would have been watching it when we were kids. But we got access to it later on. So I think that's also another thing, like how anime came to the West and then like it really had a big boom and a
Mhm.
resurgence thanks to like yes, Toonami was a big like institution of that, but then like we had 4 Kids, we had Fox Kids, we had like different avenues of getting anime. So I think there's like yes, it's a very long running series and it spans across generations who may have an interest or love or like a different affection with it because kind of going like what you said before, Um, People think it's 15-year-olds watching One Piece only.
Mhm.
And you got people who are like 45 years old watching One Piece. Like, isn't this a kid's show? Like, do you understand they were probably teenagers when this came out? So they want to see how this story ends. Like,
Right.
so it makes complete sense for it to span across generations that way. And then, like, going back to like how anime came to the West and how it's had this boom and resurgence, it only makes sense that like One Piece would be one of those series that would come here. Like, we all know how Dragon Ball Z came to the West, like how it was able to like really lead and pave a path for things like on Toonami and stuff. But then it's like One Piece. I mean, One Piece did come after Dragon Ball, but like I kind of think of it as this is like it makes complete sense for Luffy to be in the Macy Day Parade, given like the platform and just popularity that we've seen One Piece get over the course of the last 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
Because I just think about the live action, for example, is one that so many people are just like, oh, I'm just gonna watch the show. I don't even know what One Piece is. Like,
Mhm.
and then I've had friends come like, hey, do you watch this One Piece? You would like? I'm like, you talking about the anime? They're like, there's an anime. I'm like, yes. So I think just like because One Piece has been able to expand into like different avenues. I know I'm like all over the place, but like I think its ability to expand different avenues because like of course there's the manga, of course there's the original anime, but like how it's touched different people at different points in their life, like whether it was through Toonami or for kids or we finally all got Crunchyroll subscriptions, things like that. It's been able to introduce people that way. And now even today with the live action, I really credit the live action to introducing One Piece to even more people since like
Mhm.
it coming out last year, and you've seen like more things in One Piece like mainstream. I went to Walmart and there was a One Piece snack bowl, like with the Going Merry as the snack bowl. Like I ain't never seen One Piece things. Like I'm seeing One Piece posters in the Dollar Tree and Walmart and Target, and I'm just like, okay, I appreciate this. It's just I think in the last few years I'm like we're seeing it not just in these um segmented isn't the word I'm looking for, but like I think before we weren't able to see anime like or mention of anime in the broad spectrum of like what is like our economy or our market, what however you want to put it. And now it's like we can go to Walmart, we can find something One Piece related.
Yes, you saying that kind of reminded me like it's crazy because obviously One Piece has been so long running, but these last couple years, because I remember when my husband started watching One Piece, where I'm that person that you be like, oh, I like this. One time, I'm like, here's all these gifts related to this thing. So when he started it, I would always look for One Piece things, and it was like very hard to find. Like it wasn't like like Hot Topic really didn't carry a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's I feel like for a while One Piece was kind of like if if you're in it, you're in it.
Hmm.
But now these last couple years absolutely has been this huge resurgence, and now
Hmm.
like you said, Walmart, like even Hot Topic, like as much anime stuff as they had, they really only had certain titles, and they
Hmm.
wouldn't have your One Piece thing. So I
Yeah.
completely agree with that, and it's just the generations thing. I think is again so funny because when I went to, I think it was no, and what is it, Comic-Con this year,
Mm.
we went and they had like a big One Piece display, and it was like people older than
Yes.
me lined up ready to take pictures, like
Hmm.
posing and stuff, having their kids dressed. I mean, I had a One Piece party for my kid, like, so it
Yeah.
is like it is something that's generational in the sense where it's like you can, like, okay, there's Dragon Ball or whatever, and it's like you're watching Dragon Ball, and if your kid discovers Dragon Ball now, they're it's not the same, whereas like that same Dragon Ball is airing now. Like One Piece is
Hmm.
the same One Piece. Like it's the same show,
Yeah.
just a different season, as opposed to like,
Exactly.
there's Dragon Ball, but then there's Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball whatever, Super Kai. So it is definitely that the same show, the same
Hmm.
manga, not a different iteration, nothing crazy. It's the same thing that's still
Yeah.
running. And that is like whoosh, mind
It's
blowing.
it's mind blowing. No, for real, because when you think about it, like Dragon Ball is probably the one that comes close to it. And granted, like it was before One Piece. It's the godfather, technically, of Shonen Jump when you think about it too. But it's like Dragon Ball has had it's the same story, but you have like different sequels to that story that's continuing it. So it's not like there's different iterations of Dragon Ball as it is like, oh, we know who Goku is and we know who Vegeta are. Like those are the same characters throughout. But like kids watching Dragon Ball Z Kai are is a very different exposure from when we were watching Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different because Dragon Ball Kai is edited and it cuts down a lot of stuff. So like there's that. Whereas like with One Piece, the Four Kids is probably the only example where things are slightly different, but that's just because of censorship. Story wise and everything else, no. It's the same story. Cause and even with the announcement of them with this remake, I totally believe it's because they're just like, you know what? The times are changing. It's gonna be harder for people. Like some people might just like still continue to be daunted or like feel intimidated by 1,000 or so episodes, but they really want to get into it. So I totally understand the desire to remake it, and I have no issues with it because I can still watch the original One Piece if I choose to do so. But if they want to remake it because they want to make the art style different and they want to make it more modern, because when you going back and watching One Piece from the beginning, one of the number one complaints I hear from people is like the art style is so bad and it looks old. I'm like, it's gonna look old.
It's
It's from the
20
'90s.
years.
It's from
I
the
love the way that it
2000s.
looks.
It's like it is retro. It's like it's the one anime series where you start off with retro and then you slowly get to like an updated look. And it doesn't take that long to get to the updated style that it had like even at season 8. Like this, you see it like slowly change and improve over time. But it's just like when they did Hunter x Hunter, the remastered Hunter x Hunter. Like it's the same thing, but I think there's a value to doing it no matter what, but it's going to be the same story that we get. Now, if Oda decides to surprise us and do a completely different story, I'm here for it. I'm going to watch it regardless.
We're gonna trust. We in Oda we trust. So
Thank
given
you.
that, I mean, we've had a lot of we've already touched up on a lot of different things, but
Hmm.
if when you think about One Piece, what
Hmm.
is something, if you can narrow down one thing that people always get wrong, whether it's a certain plot point, whether it's characters, what is one thing about One Piece that you're like, you hear people talking about it, you're like, no.
I think one of the things people get wrong the most is Luffy. Because I see him in your background looking at me and I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about him. But no, I think one of the biggest things people get wrong is Luffy. And they just think he's this goofy pirate boy who has a silly dream of becoming king of the pirates and that it's ridiculous. And it's not that people doubt that he'll ever do it. They just have this idea of like Luffy being an idiot or, not being that smart or, just all this stuff. And I'm like, truthfully, yes, Luffy can be an idiot. But at the same time, he's also just like one of the best characters on the show because not just because he's the main character, but because you see how much he's grown and gone through. And it's like, as silly as he is, Luffy has a lot of growth and potential as an MC. And it's not that he has this overpowered, or what is it? What is it? What's the term people say? I always forget it because I hate it. But
Oh God. Me, I
is
know
it
exactly what you're talking about. I can think of
plot
it.
armor? Plot
There you
armor.
go.
They believe Luffy has this plot armor. And I'm like, actually, no, because like there are ways to beat Luffy, and he has had defeat, and he has had challenges, and like there's just like all these different facets to him. And I think people are just so quick to discredit the series because of him as the main character and him, and they don't want to like give the benefit of the doubt that there could be more to him because like Luffy has experienced loss, depression, like literally losing his crew. Um it's like so many other challenges. But the thing about him that makes him so great is that like he will say like rubber always bounces back. And he says that like a few times. But like the one time he said it, that's like when it struck with me. I'm like, yo, rubber does bounce back. But like even though it sounds very simple, it's also saying that like you got to get back up. There's going to be challenges. Who said any of this would be easy? Who said any of this was supposed to be easy? And he didn't go into any of this half-assed. Sorry if I'm not supposed to cuss.
No,
Um,
cuss away. We here.
okay. I couldn't remember, but no, it's like he doesn't go about any of this half-assed. He knows everything that's at stake, and he's willing to put his all into it. And in the process of doing that, he's willing to sacrifice himself for his crew and do whatever it takes to keep them safe along the way. And it's a beautiful, I think it's a beautiful thing about him is like people look at Luffy and they just think this is an idiot and he has this plot armor, so he's always gonna win. I'm like, he's not always gonna win. Like, yes, the story would be boring. This isn't JJK. First of all, JJK isn't boring, but like, this isn't JJK. Everybody doesn't die. People do die. But it's one of those things where I think people expect um that start because they watch other anime, they just like think One Piece is like this archaic thing because like, oh, it does the power of friendship and da 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 da. I'm like, it's so much more than that, and Luffy is so much more than that. And like to call the series mid or to call him as an MC mid or like have plot armor or overpowered is just like an excuse to not really give it a try. And I'm like, I'm not trying to convince anybody. If you truly watched all of One Piece and you feel like Luffy is mid and you feel like he's overpowered, that is your opinion and you are allowed to have it. But if you've only watched it a handful of times and you've never actually watched all of it, I truly challenge you to watch it and like keep your mind open.
I just want to say I am petitioning for 2024 and beyond that we remove mid from people's vocabulary. I am so tired of the mid accusations for it's like it's just like this thing that people throw onto every Demon Slayer's mid, JJK's mid, and it's like shut up. Like it's not just because you particularly do not enjoy it doesn't mean that it's quote unquote mid.
And
Um,
everything doesn't have to be like what is the curriculum that we are judging things to be mid or to be
mhm.
top tier? Please share with the class. Tell us what it is, because like mid is just like this thing that I feel like people say because it's a popular term when it comes to like talk about anime. Because like I remember when I think it's Tony Weaver on TikTok. He does a lot of videos and talks about anime, but like he had the showrunner for the One Piece live action, and they went to his hometown to the school, and he introduced the kids to them. And one of the before the guy came out, the one of the little boys said, like he was asking like, oh, does anybody watch One Piece? And like one of the little boys said like, oh, One Piece is mid. That's mid piece. And he's like 12 years old, and I'm just like,
That's so embarrassing.
so embarrassing. So then the creator, the showrunner, he comes out. Sorry, because it's funny.
So that's
He comes out and he's just like, yo, you wrote One Piece, and he's like so impressed. See this other black man who's been behind it, like not wrote it, but you know, like wrote like did the live action and everything. He's like, wow. I'm like, I love One Piece. I'm like, oh, but what happened to Mid Piece?
you just said it was
What
me.
happened to Mid Piece? Like you can't. But like I feel like that's so many people nowadays because I'm like, y'all just say mid to just like throw it out there willy nilly, and I'm just so tired. We're so tired.
It is, and it's just like a cop out. Like it's just something that they know, especially. And I don't care. This is completely shots fired. This is completely 100% shade. I stand on what the fuck I'm saying. A lot of y'all fake ass content creators just say things like mid, just say things like overrated, just say things like plot armor because you literally do not have the skills to create content otherwise if you are not using terms that draw people in because you don't have other words to create content. And I wish people just stood on that. Like it's not that you think One Piece is mid, is that you know, oh, this is gonna get engagement if I say mid, people gonna come running because your head is empty, it's full of rocks, and you don't have anything substantial to share with people. Cause it's like, and I know, I think you've seen it too. Renegadis had that like that reel where it's like everybody's like, One Piece,
Yes.
and it's like that's really what it is because it's like you can absolutely, like you said, you don't have to love One Piece, you don't have to be like the biggest fan. If you watched it and you don't, it's not for you, like that's 100% fine. But the fact that you're getting online and saying these things, clearly you want the engagement, you paid for the blue check and you hit it, honey, we still know that you
We
paid
get it.
for it. And it's like, just say that you want engagement and that you trying to get a check off social media because
Please.
it's clear.
It's
And it's like
clear.
if there's valid critiques to be had, then have them, and you would have a way to express them, and people would tune in and be like, "Oh yeah, that's actually a great point that you made about this." But
Yes.
they really don't, and that's where they say mid and plot armor and overrated because they don't have the vocabulary or the brain to
Or the
think of anything
actual
else.
no, for real. And it's like one of those things that irritate me because I'm like, with the rise of TikTok in the last, I don't know how long TikTok been around, probably since Musical.ly or whatever that app was before, but
Mm-hmm.
like TikTok as a platform for podcasts, specifically anime podcasters, is hit or miss for me because I get so irritated whenever this discussion comes up. And it could be any series, but specifically One Piece, because you're right. It's clear that you just want to say One Piece is trash or it's ass or it's mid because you know you're going to incite rage in people. And I've just opted for like not engaging with people like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand it. And then like or they'll make statements like, "Oh, Zoro's the minority hunter, so you want to you watch Zoro." I'm like, "Ha ha, you're so funny." Like it just be stupid things that people just wants to get like traction on. And I just be like, "Can y'all just shut up?" Like actually like why don't you just talk about the stuff you've actually watched?
Or the stuff that you like.
Or the stuff that you like.
They
Like
can't because they don't like anime. They just want to be popular
but it's
online. That's
gonna
the real tea.
ooh, and that gets under my skin
Mm-hmm.
because like there have been content creators like you, myself, our friends, like other mutuals that we know who I see them grinding at being content creators and they're doing it authentically. And then like it's not and I know and I tell myself this all the time, it's not about how many followers I have. It's not about how many followers I have. Yes, do I want to like build my platform and like get opportunities in the future? And I know I have to have followers to do that. Absolutely. But it is I will hold myself accountable and I'd rather have my dignity
Mm-hmm.
instead of putting out fake comments or like not or just regurgitating stuff that I've heard online because it irritates me when I see any content creator do it, man, woman, anybody. I can't stand it because it's just like it's clear that you didn't watch anime or you
Mm-hmm.
didn't even watch this anime and you feel like you have every right to critique it in the way you did. Like with there was that one article somebody reviewed the Mugen Train movie
Mm-hmm.
and they were just like I just feel like it's ridiculous that they made this movie and I have to go watch the series to understand all these characters. I'm like, it's literally canon. That's why the movie was made as a way to introduce this arc. Like many things do this, and I just feel like y'all don't know how to critique anything.
No.
Y'all don't know how to critique anything. It's even like I feel this way about stuff even when it comes like down to music because like when people want to
Mm-hmm.
critique Beyonce, I'm like everyone like well she's not above criticism. I'm like nobody ever said she was. And One Piece is definitely not above criticism. But when y'all want to make comments about something that's baseless or not even based in fact, that's where I have a problem with it. Like
Absolutely.
if it's mid, show me where it's mid.
There we go. But they can't because they didn't watch it. They just want to talk about. And that's the thing. It's like it is frustrating. I feel like obviously like it's annoying because I'm like I say this and I know people are like toxic positivity, but I'm really like a positive person. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like if I don't like something, that's it. Like I don't gotta put it out there. I don't gotta broadcast it. Like why? So you know why I don't like it? There's tons of things that I don't like. But for me,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like too, and this is kind of getting off topic, but I think it is relevant because especially it happens with One Piece. It's like
Mm-hmm.
why like I feel like once you put something negative out there, and there's been studies about this, like the algorithm feeds on that negativity, and they keep showing people
Mm-hmm.
negativity because it proves that people who get like these emotional reactions, they want to see more of it, and it like keeps them in this negative state. And I just feel like anime and like One Piece and all these things like they're so fun. Like it's just something fun to enjoy and it's supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
enjoyable. And then when you get these people with the mid accusations or you
Yep.
know are just like, oh, it ain't beating this though, it ain't clearing this, and it's like, why does
Could
it
he
have
be Goku? Well, like
good
I
to be?
have one more could he be Goku argument. And that's not related to One Piece because we've actually seen that fight in an anime before. I'm just so tired. I'm just so tired.
Like it's just like it's no, to me there's absolutely just no need, and I get like that's what society is, but I
Mm-hmm.
choose, and I think that was a big focus on doing this podcast is like to focus on what we love about things because it is like fun, but I also think it's important that we talk about like this part of the fandom because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like people are like, well, just ignore it, but it's like if something brings you so much joy and you see like all this negativity surrounding it, and it's just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like why, like I've started muting just stuff that I love because I'm like I don't want to see this conversation, you're not gonna talk about this, and I clearly know you didn't read this or you didn't watch this, you're just trying to get points online, like get out
Yeah.
of here.
It's very easy to get sucked into that part of the internet or just any
Mhm.
platform you're on because like if you like something, it's gonna be targeted towards you based off your likes and whatever. However, algorithm decide to do what he do. But
What you
shout
call
out
him,
to
algorithm?
I did not come with that. I was just about to say shout out to my friend Malcolm. He's the one that came up with that soup god on TikTok.
Algorithm.
He is, he is, he is named the algorithm. His name is Algae Rhythm. So that's who we need to cuss out from now on.
I, I I wasn't familiar with your game, but
Yeah.
now I see.
But it's just one of those things where it's like you're just bound to see this kind of stuff. And I've had to teach myself like just don't comment. Just don't comment. Even on my own content, I
Mhm.
have to not comment because it was like today's Saturday. Yeah, like last Friday. I don't know. Whenever this comes out, it's gonna be probably like a few weeks before when I talk about this. But I made that trending reel with the shaky cup thing
Mhm.
sound, and I've seen a huge increase in followers from it. But like in those comments, there's so many people because I made it about One Piece. And of course, I've gotten for the most part, it's been beautiful. In the comments, you got people saying like, "I've been looking for other girls who watch One Piece. I've been looking for other people who like this show." And like, you see people talking and bonding and connecting. I'm like, this is beautiful. This is what One Piece is about. Then you got people coming in the comments and being like, "It's mid piece. It's this. It's that. It's not even that good. It's not that deep." I'm like, and like instead of actually replying back, I'm just like, "We're just gonna block you. We're just gonna
Mhm.
block you because you're open. You are correct in your own opinion, but I also don't have to tolerate your opinion, especially if it's ass."
I just it's just like the amount of effort it took you to comment this. Why you could have just scrolled, you could have just flicked the screen and gone to another video for whatever anime or whatever show that you want to watch. But
Right.
but it's like ho, why is you here? Why is you here? This clearly isn't for you. This is
Why are
not.
you bothering me? Why did you feel like to have been so bothered
Mhm.
by me talking about One Piece in a reel that you have to go share it to your story and make a negative content. I feel bad for you. That is
Yes.
pitiful. That is so pitiful. And I mean, like that even extends to like when I do cosplays and stuff. Like
Mhm.
when I did my Monkey D. Luffy cosplay, best believe I got some of like the most heinous comments from people. I just block them. Just
Yeah.
block them. I can't. You can't even try to engage with these people at this point.
No, absolutely. It's not because that's kind of like, and I know it's like, I'm sometimes I don't I get tired of like be the bigger person narrative, but it's also
Okay.
like that's what they want. Like they want to be like, oh, you're engaging back and forth with me, and it's like, no, get out of here, loser. You're the loser. These are the losers. These are the people when they talk about losers. But bring it back to One Piece. In the fandom, like aside from the haters, like we're talking
Mhm.
about the people who love and watch One Piece. What is an unpopular opinion that you have specifically about One Piece that other One Piece fans may not agree with you on?
It's more of a theory than an opinion,
I'm
if that's
listening.
okay.
Is it the one? This theory is so dumb. The one where they think that the guy. This is my theory. The one in the beginning, Zoro's friend, that girl, they think the dad killed her. Because I believe that theory.
No, okay, but for real, let's talk about it because we can make a whole true crime murder podcast and make it a little mini series and
And
be
she
like,
fell and died. That don't add up. That don't add up to me.
the stairs, the stairs. I don't believe the stairs.
Where did they have stairs?
I just don't believe the stairs did it. It was not the stairs. It was definitely her daddy, or or I believe because like there's this whole part and people always negate it. Where like the girl goes, she runs back home after her fight with Zoro, and she about to tell her dad like she feels reinvigorated and she's like excited about her pursuing her dream still, and like I don't think enough people understand that like it was kind of subtle, but like it's still there. But like her father was like, "You will never be able to be stronger than a man."
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm paraphrasing, but like you'll never be able to be stronger than a man because you are a woman because you will have a woman's body. And I think one or two things happen. Like, did she find out something that got her killed? Did she run away so he faked her death so that
Mm-hmm.
he could like preserve the family's honor? Like, her dying doesn't make sense, but I feel like there has to be something bigger at play. And like people are like, but it's been so many years. It's been
No.
so long. And I'm like, do y'all understand that Oda has done foreshadowing that has taken 10 years to come to fruition? Like,
It's
10
gonna
years.
he's gonna spin the block with this one. I'm telling you.
I feel like he has to spin the block with it, and like for the fact that like Tashigi looks so much like her, and like whenever Zoro sees her, he kind of like gets this feeling that it is his childhood friend. I feel like if we get some kind of flashback where Tashigi's like, yeah, I don't know, I just watched a board. Like I feel like if Tashigi had a memory loss, at like 'cause she ran away and then maybe she bumped her head, or like from falling down the stairs she got amnesia or something.
She didn't really
Yeah,
die.
she, something she didn't. I don't think she's dead, or if she is dead, her father killed her for a reason. But besides the point.
Your real theory. Sorry, I derailed that one, but I'm
No,
dying to talk about that one.
I love that theory so much. But no, I think there was the one I had about Big Mom and Kaido, cause I just, if anybody's seen Katakuri, I know nobody else believes this theory, but like some people be like, okay, you cooking, but then they'll be like, but Big Mom saw Kaido. Oh, let me explain. So Big Mom, Kaido, they're two of the four emperors of the sea. Luffy is now an emperor also. People don't know this currently in the story, but besides the point, Big Mom literally has 50 kids. And all her kids come from like different countries and different nations, and it's like all political marriages or political babies or whatever. So she got one son named Katakuri. He's supposed to be one of a triplet. He don't look nothing like his two brothers. His two brothers look the same. So I'm like, this woman got to have two vaginas in her, and it's possible because Big Mom big. Like that's not a joke. She's big. She's like a giant, but she's not a giant. That's the other thing. She's a giant, but she's not a giant. So y'all know what that means later on, in the series. But Katakuri's like color scheme and style, and like Oda be doing this thing with like foreshadowing people's looks and stuff. I'm like, that look like it could be his baby. But everybody always want to remind me, but like, oh, but they were crewmates, but that don't mean they smashed. That don't mean that's her son. I'm like, but he's one of the oldest sons. So you telling me Big Mom and Kaido didn't smash?
I'm
I
looking up
know.
now.
Yeah, you can look at them. I'm just like, whoever the other two triplets daddy is, sure. Whoever his daddy is, it ain't that man. I think it's Kaido. So that's probably like my most unpopular opinion, because people just be like, no, they didn't smash. That's she said she viewed him as a brother. I'm like, Big Mom has had sex with people because she just wants to have strong children. If Kaido is one of the strongest beings in One Piece, why wouldn't she have a child with him? She could have, they ain't real brother and sister.
Hmm.
I can see you're saying like this means nothing. I just need a sperm donation to have a strong child.
Listen, I'm on the wiki now. I see it. You cooking? I see it. I,
I'm just like, who is your dad? Because like that's another thing about One Piece. Is like everything means something.
mm-hmm.
Like, and I say that broadly. Like, yes, there's some things that don't mean anything, but everything means something. Down to Luffy's hat, down to the hat. There is symbolism and meaning in the hat. So I'm like, at this point, I'd be questioning everything. Like, who is Nami's real parents? We don't know who her real parents are. We don't know where Nami really came from. Is that something that's going to come back into play later on? Possibly. Possibly. Just saying.
Listen, I I see it. I see it. I'm here. I'm here for it. I'm just only judging based on looks, so I'm not that far.
Mhm.
But based on looks, I see that, and I hope your theory comes true. And I
Right.
agree. Who knows? Like we ain't created. They could be possible. Everything's. I feel like everything's possible until it's proven that it's not
That or
possible.
he's a fish. I will say that, or his daddy was a fish man. Because like when you see the reveal of his face, he has like the mouth of an anglerfish.
Oh no! Oh no! He was looking
Yeah,
kind of fine until
he
you.
is. Look, he's still fine even with the mouth. He'll get a pass.
He's fine.
He can get a he can get a pass even with the mouth. But it's like, okay, like so either Kaido your daddy or some random fish man is, but you don't look like your brothers. So who the hell
Oh,
are you?
the mouth ain't that bad. You know, but I could deal with that. I
Right.
I could look past. I could look past worse. Like
Yeah,
it's
you don't
okay.
look from behind. And
there.
honestly, when people want to talk about rivals in One Piece and if Luffy got a rival, oh, I guess I want to go down too many opinions and stuff because I have on the opposite end. I have an opinion about like one that I hate. That's an unpopular opinion, but I'll explain that. But like, I'll just to finish my other thought. Katakuri, I feel like is one of Luffy's true rivals. I truly feel like he's one of his true rivals, and I think he will come back up later on because their fight at Whole Cake Island was so meaningful and important. But he seems like one of those rivals that might have to come back and get a get back. But like,
Mhm.
as for the opinion that I hate that a lot of people make, so this is an unpopular opinion, but a lot of I see it a lot in the fandom. Um, People believe that Luffy and Zoro are going to have to fight at the end of the series.
Each other?
Yes, don't make sense. It don't make
Mm-mm.
sense. I hate this theory, but apparently, because people believe so, Luffy's goal, one of his goals is he wants to defeat all of the emperors of the sea. So he's already defeated Big Mom and Kaido at this point. So that leaves Shanks for him to fight and Blackbeard. So people are like, well, who's he gonna fight next? Well, he'll probably have to save Shanks for last because Shanks and Luffy made this promise. Shanks is the one that gave Luffy the hat, and he's like, "I'll meet you again. We'll meet again when you become a great pirate." And Luffy's like, "Yeah, I have to." Like one of his goals is like, "I gotta beat them all." So he knows that when him and Shanks meet again, they'll have a fight. So Zoro's dream to become the greatest swordsman in the world. Because Shanks has a sword and fights with a sword, people feel like if Luffy beats Shanks, then, and this is important because Mihawk has the title of being the strongest swordsman in the world, who Zoro has fought and failed before, but like later on in the series, he gets trained by him. People are like, oh, but he ain't gonna fight Mihawk. He already trained under Mihawk, so why would he fight him? So he gotta fight Luffy if Luffy beats Shanks. I'm like, Luffy wouldn't fight Zoro, and because Luffy isn't a swordsman.
Luffy's not fighting Shanks with a sword.
That part. He's not even fighting Shanks with a sword.
He's
So
like, let me just get this sword. Thousands chapters later, that I've never ever seen me with a sword. Yeah, I'm just gonna pull up with one now.
Luffy has only been seen with a sword once, and he don't know how to use it. Well,
Maybe
no, so with a sword twice. Once on Thriller Bark, and he did know how to use it, but y'all see why he knew. But like Luffy doesn't fight with swords primarily. There's no reason for Zoro and Luffy to fight at the end of this series, and I feel like that is my most. That's the biggest bad take or opinion that I hate.
Yeah, as someone who knows little, but because I've seen the
Enough,
first season
you know
recently,
enough.
even just how Zoro, like 2 seconds was like, I'll be on your crew. Like, get out of here, get out. See, people just be talking. People just be.
Talking.
So as we're wrapping up, and we probably touched upon this, but overall, when you think about One Piece's legacy, what do you think it is? I mean, it's still ongoing, but when it ends, like, what do you think is going to be that thing that 100 years from now we're still going to be talking about One Piece?
I guess a big thing that comes to me as I stare at my Luffy tapestry in front of me. um, I want to say it's hard to narrow it down to one thing, but I would say just believing in yourself, like the dreams, pursuing your dream. And what does that mean? Because like it can mean a lot of different things for people. Like pursuing your dream is like depends on like what your dream itself is, and it's like what does it take to do that? Does it take never giving up? Does it take relying on your friends? Does it take just like you're gonna have challenges and they're going to be hard, but like when you get to the first hard challenge, are you gonna stop? And then after you get to that challenge, are you gonna stop after the next one? And I think that's what it reminds me of. Is just like life is going to always have challenges, and life is always going to have difficulties, no matter what. But like if you have a goal in mind, as long as you never give up on your goal, and you truly pursue it the way you're meant to pursue it, then your dreams never die.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And I think that's a great way
I hope it
to
makes sense.
perfect. No, it did. And I don't care. Like I will never stop believing in the magic of our dreams, and
Hmm.
I don't care people think that's corny, and I think that's something that I really loved about One Piece. And like I told you in the beginning, because it was such like already an emotional time for me when I had my son,
Yeah.
and the changes that goes into that. But like I think what really drew me into Luffy specifically and the show was the like he it is based on a dream that he has, and he's so
Mm-hmm.
confident he thinks he's gonna accomplish that, and thinking like, not to get too deep, but I sometimes think of like, people say like kids are the future, and then I'm like thinking about my son, and I'm like, yeah, I want
Yeah.
him to know that everything that he wants is possible. And I think that for myself too, like, and my dreams and my goals and my hopes, like, I do think that's possible. And I like the fact that this little rubber boy
Yeah.
who's goofy, but the heart of gold, like, that to me, I think we need more of that. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
tying it all in, when we talk about the why it's frustrating getting these like unfair criticisms or unjust or
Mm-hmm.
lack of substance, it's because when you see something, as even me who hasn't seen the whole show, but something as special, as magical as One Piece, and the main themes of the show, friendship, pursuing your dreams, freedom, and all the deeper themes that people pretend to don't exist, weirdly. But it's
Right.
just like, that is something, especially in the current climate that we're living in, is so necessary. And it is
Yeah.
necessary that we seek out media and shows that give that to us. And I love that you think that's One Piece's legacy, because I feel that like the people who are also, I think one of my favorite parts about One Piece is how much people love it, and then to think that they're all like thinking of their dreams, like, I don't know, that makes me so happy.
It definitely makes me reflect on like what was my dream as a kid. Like it's one of
Hmm.
those things, and like even like you said, but like it does make you think about like the next generation because excuse me, in One Piece there is a lot of moments where it talks about like, okay, well the next generation is coming up, so like it's their turn to have a shot at it. Or there's this really good, you're gonna get to it, so like I know I'm not gonna ruin it for you, but like I feel like I can explain this. There's a question that's posed later on in the series, and it's like you come to an island and it's stranded, and you find an old man, and a young boy, and there's only enough room on the boat for you and somebody else. What do you do? And the person being asked the question is like, well, I'd give the boat to both of them so they can live. He's like, no, you take the child. And it's like, it's such a jarring like conversation at first, but like if you like, I'm saying this, but like people probably will recognize this theme over and over in the series, especially with Sanji's backstory with being stranded, with Zeph gave up his leg so Sanji would live. And like the person asking the question about the boat and the old man and the child, they're also an old man. They're like, no, because the next generation needs to live on, and we need to make sure that they have the spirit and the opportunities to pursue their dreams to the full extent. Because once you give up on your dreams, that's when things just like stop. That's when things change. That's when like things are over. So rather than giving up on your dreams or like make convincing people to give up on their dreams, you should actually be encouraging them to do so.
I love it. Now my heart is so warm. This is a great. This has been so much fun, and if there's a takeaway for anybody, give it a shot. If you got to look up the guide that tells you what to skip, do that. If you got to watch the abridged version, however you get it, I think even me, like I said, just only having watched the first 62 episodes, like, it's still such an impactful show. And Neysha, I can't thank you enough for coming on here and just getting so deep into One Piece with me, because I love it, and I love people that I enjoy talking about things that they love. So, as we're wrapping up, if we talked about this in the intro, but if you can just let our listeners know where they can find you, what do you have upcoming, or something that you've done in the past that they should be checking out. And as always, anything that she mentions, I will be putting in the description of the episode.
Thanks. Well, first off, thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure coming back and talking to you about One Piece, my one of my greatest loves. But like also just like gushing about it with you. But yeah, y'all can find me on all platforms at NeyshaPlays. That's at NeyshaPlays. I don't know why I paused. But yeah, y'all can find me there. Check out my content, check out my reviews, things that I'm watching, reading, all that stuff, and of course my cosplays. I will say that I'm in the process of launching a Discord server because recently people have been asking me like, you should host your watch parties, you should do this, and you should do that. And like, before y'all even knew this, like I was already kind of plotting on doing this later down the line, but here I am now being like Luffy, trying to pursue my dreams because I want to create a space where people feel welcome to talk about One Piece, not just One Piece, but like other anime and other things, and just like really come and cultivate one another and have a good time. And also like allow the shonen girlies to have a space where they can meet other girls who watch anime. So
Yes.
that's what is in the process. And then, of course, y'all can find me and listen to me on Freaks and Geeks. That's Freaks spelled like Gone Freaks. So FREECS. And yeah, it's over there on Instagram right now and TikTok. But we will be coming out with more episodes soon. And we are on basically all podcast channels. So yeah, Apple Podcasts, Google, Amazon Music. Just go to the Instagram.
You'll find it. It will be there. I'm gonna have the links to it. Yeah, so listeners, thank you so much, of course, for tuning into another episode of The Wonder of Anime. If you like this episode, if you love me, if you love Neysha, if you love One Piece, please be sure to go and leave a review wherever they got them. I've been telling people about the Walmart bulletin board. Find one locally to you. Print out the episode. Put it on the board. Get me new listeners that way. I think it could work. I think it's a good plan.
I think that's a solid plan. I
You
might have to do that with Freaks and Geeks. I don't know if people are going to appreciate that.
I don't know, but we gonna try. But thank you so much, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.